Hello, everyone, and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome you to this new chapter in our History Titan series, where we are unearthing the history's hidden giants. We continue to step further into this new reality, the African European political drama, with none other than Patrice Lumumba. Yes, we started with Thomas Sankara, but how could we address this subject without talking about Patrice Lumumba, who truly believed that the lack of unity was the ultimate barrier against the next step for humanity. This unifying titan believed that he could change the entire humanitarian system by unifying behind the flag of unity and peace, starting in Belgian Congo, now Democratic Republic of Congo, then pushing unity throughout the Pan-African system for truly brotherly African solidarity and continental liberation. But also, in my view, he was the first to put one of the first tone for the Pan-African movement with other important such as, as I said, Thomas Sankara, Martin Luther King Jr., but as well, people like Malcolm X. From different angles, you could see these great personas that were pushing this view of the Pan-African movement. So ultimately, he wanted Africa to yearn its mental liberation from the inferiority complex instilled and ingrained by the West throughout history of lies such as eugenics, but also racism and slavery. In this new approach of Pan-Africanist of history titans started with Thomas Sankara, as I said, we'll look into the lives of those who dare to risk everything, including their lives, to improve their country and change the Occidental, vision, racism, and lack of unity in his own country and eventually continentally. Today, we remember Patrice Lumumba, not without emotion. Obviously, he was a living testament to the vision of unity for all, but starting for all Congolese and bring them their independence with a true symbolic transfer of power away from the Belgian colonial rule, away from a gradual transition, because he believed that Congolese fought and suffered enough for their freedom and deserved full sovereignty without delay. His belief in national unity and the eradication of tribalism would be the doorway towards independence and economic emancipation. To ensure that Congo's vast natural resources to benefit not Occidental hyenas and not the political elite fews, but for all Congolese. And yet his plans wasn't limited to Congo. As for Thomas Sankara, he truly envisioned that Congo's independence was narrowly linked from the broader struggle to free Africa entirely from colonialism and neo-colonialism. Therefore, he advocated for African unity and cooperation and end the subordination to the West. He dreamt of the creation of a unified and just society with the assertion of African dignity and self-worth. His vision was both radical and deeply humanistic to end foreign domination, then to inspire a new era of African pride, solidarity, and prosperity. Then please, everyone, please follow me as we delve into the past of one of the greatest unifying African hero of our history, who gave up his life to give some higher human perspectives for all of us. Guys, as you can clearly, you know, imagine that in this episode of History Titans, we journey once again into the heart of Africa's struggle for true independence with the story of Patrice Lumumba, the first Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the symbol of Pan-African hope. Similarly to Thomas Sankara, decades later, Lumumba's vision and courage threaten powerful interest both at home and abroad. His tragic fate, sealed by betrayal from within and intervention from without, echoes the dark parallel between Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré, a story of revolutionaries undone by those closest to them. So now let's dive into his early life and education. Patrice Emery Lumumba was born on July 2nd, 1925 in Katako Kombe in the Kasai province, what was then the Belgium Congo. Raised in a modest family, Patrice Lumumba attended both Protestant and Catholic missionary schools, quickly distinguishing himself as part of the Evolué, the small educated Congolese elite. He became a postal clerk, then an accountant, and later led a union of government employees, sharpening his organizational and leadership skills. Lumumba's passion for justice and equality was fueled by his exposure to the harsh realities of colonial rule and his engagement with the Congolese press and political associations. And by the harsh reality of colonial rules, I'll let you be the witness of the image that you see right now with all the atrocities that the Belgium committed in Zaire, the original name before the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay. Now that we went quickly through his early life and education, let's talk about his political ambitions and realization. Patrice Lumumba's political awakening accelerated after the 1958 All-African People's Conference in Accra, Ghana, where he met other African nationalists and Pan-Africanists, including Kwame Nkrumah. Inspired to act, he founded the movement National Congolais, MNC. It was a movement meant to create some kind of a vacuum of interest to liberate Congo, which quickly became the leading force for Congolese independence. In May 1960, the MNC won national elections, and on June 30th, 1960, Patrice Lumumba became Congo's first prime minister. His impromptu speech at the independence ceremony was a searing indictment of Belgian colonialism, refusing to whitewash the suffering endured by his people. Patrice Lumumba's government sought to eradicate tribalism, unifying the country and asserting real sovereignty, rejecting both Belgian tutelage and foreign interference. He called for the removal of Belgian troops and appealed to the United Nations for support, but found in reality little help, as the mineral-rich Katanga province, backed by Belgium and Western interest, seceded under Moise Tshombe. Now let's look into the treason of Mobutu. As Congo plunged into chaos, Patrice Lumumba's authority was undermined by President Joseph Kasavubu, and most faithfully by his own army chief, Joseph Désiré Mobutu. Under pressure from Western powers, alarmed by Patrice Lumumba's appeal to the Soviet Union for aid, Mobutu, also, with its real name, Mobutu Sese Seko, staged a coup in September 1960, placing Lumumba under house arrest and later in military detention. This betrayal actually mirrored the later actions of Blaise Compaoré against Thomas Sankara, a revolutionary toppled by a trusted ally with foreign complicity. So Mobutu was actually, he was notably close to the CIA and Belgium support. So he handed Lumumba over to his enemy in Katanga, where he was executed by a firing squad in January 17th, 1961 at just 35 years old. Very similarly to Thomas Sankara. Now let's talk about his legacy and influence. As you can imagine, Patrice Lumumba was one of the first, but not the last, a martyr for African independence. Patrice Lumumba's life was brief but incandescent, similarly to Thomas Sankara. For the brief period of time that they were in power, they were doing extraordinary things for the country. He became, as I said, he became a martyr for African independence. His name invoked by liberation movements across the continent and beyond. Patrice Lumumba's writings and speeches, especially his last letter to his wife, remain steering calls for dignity, unity, and self-determination. His assassination exposed the length to which colonial and Cold War powers would go to suppress genuine African sovereignty, a pattern repeated to the fates of other African visionaries like Thomas Sankara and others that I mentioned, in the video about Thomas Sankara. I listed the number of only the French assassinations in Africa, but imagine the rest. So this is really striking. Today, Patrice Lumumba's legacy endures in the ongoing struggles for democracy and justice in Congo and throughout Africa. What we see at the moment in Niger, in Mali, also in Burkina Faso, but also the cry for democracy and real freedom in Senegal, in Cote d'Ivoire, and other places like my own country, like Cameroon. We need to have this moment of celebration where we can see that why Patrice Lumumba was celebrated as a Pan-African hero. His image, a rallying point for those demanding an end to neo-colonialism and the right to control their own resources and destiny, was really striking and really powerful. So now, gentlemen, ladies, I know I'd love to do longer portraits, but with today limited concentration time span for people, I prefer to do shorter content. But we're reaching the time of a conclusion. So we can clearly say that Patrice Lumumba's story is at the same time a warning and an inspiration. Similarly to Thomas Sankara, he dreamt of a united, independent Africa free from foreign domination and internal betrayal. So because we see that cycle over and over, that repeats itself, with the view of Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré and the betrayal from one of his closest friends, and we see the same situation with Patrice Lumumba and Mobutu Sese Seko. With the intervention and the support and the backing, basically, from the Western Occidental countries. His life, unfortunately for Patrice Lumumba, his life was cut short by the very forces he sought to overcome. But both Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, but also others like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, their vision lives on. In remembering Patrice Lumumba, we honor all of those who risked and lost their lives for the promise of a better future for Africa. His legacy challenges us to confront the unfinished business of decolonization and to build a world where justice and unity prevail over division and exploitation. Because once again, I want to be extremely clear. In my video, I don't call for racism, not at all. We shouldn't do to others what they did to us. Never ever. We should call for unity between the earth family, because the earthling is a family of so much diversity. This is a chance that we have, because imagine a planet where everything will be about sameness. It would be lack of color, lack of fragrance, lack of identity, and we have a richness of identities, of vision. The way we understand the world is so rich. This is amazing. And let's talk about gastronomy. This is even crazier. Now, if we were to look at the extraordinary legacy and example set by Patrice Lumumba, and the hard, unfortunate counter-example provided by Mobutu Sese Seko, notably in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but the same can be said about multiple countries, and including Burkina Faso with Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré. But now, if we look specifically into Democratic Republic of Congo, it stands today as one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources, with an estimated 24 trillion in untapped mineral wealth. I'm not even talking about what was stolen already. I'm talking about what is untapped. So if we compare the DRC resource endowment to a country like Norway, where mineral resources such as metallic ores, construction materials, and natural stones are estimated at an extravagant $500 billion, way less than DRC's. This is still impressive, but 24 trillion for DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is crazy. But now Norway richness is in majority it is built on oil. But the contrast is staggering. While Norway's wealth has been used and has been used to benefit its citizens, the DRC remains mired in poverty and instability. It reaches fueling conflict rather than development. If we look into more details, Norway is one of the world's leading oil and gas producers, with total recoverable oil and gas resources estimated at about 15.6 billion standard cubic meters of oil equivalent. Okay. As for 2024, over the past 50 years, Norway has produced about 56% of its total estimated recoverable resources, and oil and gas contribute roughly 20% of Norway's GDP, more than 60% of its export value. The government net cash flow from the petroleum sector is estimated at about $65 billion in 2025. Let's look at DRC. The DRC is widely recognized as one of the world's richest country, as I was saying, in terms of untapped mineral resources, which estimated of its mineral wealth reaching 24 trillion. This includes vast resources of copper, cobalt, the world's largest deposit, coltan, gold, diamond, tin, and other strategic minerals. Unlike Norway's highly developed and state-managed oil sector, the DRC's mineral wealth has been largely underexploited or extracted under exploitative arrangements, often fueling countries in corruption rather than national prosperity. The tragedy is not simply about a matter of internal mismanagement. The voracity of the West continues to plague the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, with its mineral resources systematically pillaged through proxies such as Rwanda. The hypocrisy of the international community is glaring. The European Union has signed contracts to purchase minerals that were stolen from the Democratic Republic of Congo by Rwanda, a practice widely denounced by African leaders but reported only by a handful of courageous journalists. This arrangement not only perpetuates violence and exploitation in the eastern Congo, but also robs the Congolese people of the benefit that should flow from their own land. If the DRC mineral wealth were managed by the same efficiency, transparency, and national benefit as Norway's oil and gas, the DRC would be one of the world's wealthiest countries on the planet. Instead, it remains a stark example of the resource curse, where immense natural resources have brought exploitation and conflict rather than development and prosperity. So once again, and I've been telling that on episode after episode, if humanity truly wants to change, it needs a complete reversal of these destructive dynamics. The world needs to have new leadership in the West. Leaders who understand that global prosperity cannot be built on the suffering, pillage, and torment of neighbors. People are saying, well, we don't have any friends, we have interest. The interest of others, the interest of resources of others, like France and other Occidental countries. Instead, the future must be one where nations trade fairly, appreciate each other's cultures, and share knowledge and wisdom about their past history, and about their shared humanity and interconnectedness. Only then, the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and countries like it, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Senegal, and Ivory Coast, and so much others, will transform the immense natural wealth into real prosperity for the people. And only then can Patrice Lumumba's dream of dignity, justice, and true independence finally be realized. Guys, I guess that's it for today. I thank you very much for your time and listening until the end of this episode. So now, just let's continue the reflection and the exchange within the comments. If you find the time, if you find the interest of sharing your views about this, and I'll see you in about 2 weeks for another episode, and this time we'll be talking about Malcolm X.